Kumasi to take a stand against electoral violence, impunity and injustice in Ghana. But a few days after, there has been a clash in Manhyia constituency where we are told that Matthew Opoku Prempeh had been arrested. Whatever triggered that clash, we'll get onto the phone line later in the show and get update from our correspondent. Also, tonight we'll be discussing the call by the volunteers for Manhyia who want their national coordinator to step aside in light of the allegations that came forward that the group accepted 4,000 Ghana cedis from the Ghana Investment Promotion Council, GIPC. We'll talk about that also tonight. And then NDP's case has been thrown out. So it means that former First Lady Nana Akufo-Addo will effectively not be able to contest this year's election as a female presidential candidate. So we'll talk about that also tonight on PM Express with the best political team. And the presidential pardon, there is a presidential pardon for Boko MP Adamu Dramani Sakande, who has been granted a pardon by President John Mahama. So we'll take a quick break, and when we return, I will introduce my guest and we'll let the show roll. Welcome back to PM Express, and tonight my best political team in the studio. I have Alimu Diallo, who is from West African Network for Peace Building, WANEP. And then next to him I have Kofi Adams, who is spokesperson for former President Rawlings. I also have in the studio Dr. Michael White Pesa. Dr. Pesa is a research fellow at the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana, Legon. Later on in the show, we'll get onto the phone lines to speak to His Excellency Major General Retired Francis Edu Amanfo, who is part of a group of ex-officers of the Ghana Armed Forces who held a press conference yesterday to raise concerns of safety as we go into the elections. And then later on, we also get onto the phone lines to speak to Samuel Boachi Ejako, MPP campaign manager for the Nanado 2012 campaign. We'll speak to our correspondent also to bring us up to speed with developments in Manhyia constituency. Gentlemen, it's great to have you all here in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll start with you, Dr. Pesa. These pockets of violence, they're worrying. I mean, especially after the various presidential aspirants signed a declaration of peace. Do you still feel the signing of that declaration was relevant?
Absolutely. I think it is more than relevant. We have had, since 1992, quite a number of events, some of which the public is privy to, others the public is not privy to. And I think that the institutions and the individuals involved in organizing the Kumasi Declaration know why they have to do what they did. And if for nothing at all, the symbolism of it, seeing all the eight presidential candidates together, reading statements and more or less pledging to the Ghanaian public that they will abide by the outcome of the elections is great. And the reason why it's great, among others, is that if you look across the African region in more recent times, elections that are supposed to be the mechanisms for successfully either changing governments or solving political differences as far as leadership is concerned, have also become a cause for concern, largely because in our particular societies, we are highly multi-ethnic. And what it meant was that multi-party elections have been configured to also become multi-ethnic competition. And so rather than competition of ideas, we've come more or less to a situation where it has become competition among ethnic groups. And we will be deceiving ourselves to think that there are no ethnic undertones lying at the foreground and the background of our political discourses. And so doing what they did is to kind of make sure that the candidates not only commit themselves, but also know the implications of what could happen to them should they go back on their own ways. In 1992, if you read Mr. Pierre Minka's book, The River in the Sea, in that book, he made certain very interesting revelations about what was being planned, and it took, I think, the Den Otumfuo to make sure that nothing happened to this country. We are reading more recently from Ghana My Odyssey, the book written by Boafo Ajimadua, also that something similar almost occurred in 2000. We also know that in 2008, the losing party went to court on Sunday to more or less prevent the Electoral Commission, so to speak, from announcing the results. These trends did not bode well, and I think that democracy also means that we need to expect two results in an election, winning or losing, and one must be prepared at all times to abide by any of these results that comes their way.
So, I mean, on the background of these historical antecedents you've given us, do you not think that still the violence which broke out is an infraction, a kind of infraction on the peace declaration at all?
Well, to some extent, yes. But I think, I mean, if you look at the larger picture of it, what it means is that we need to move beyond the elites signing this and ensure that this translates to the ordinary people on the ground. What it means is that, and I think I've heard some of the candidates doing this really, candidates, when they mount the political platform, needs to speak to the declaration and also get their supporters to understand that if you engage in violence, you will go alone. You will be dealt with as an individual, not as a member of any particular political party. They need to discourage their people. They should just take 5 minutes or 2 minutes of their time when they mount the political platform between now and next week around this time to actually discourage their members from getting involved. See, the thing is, there is a lot of emotionalism, sentimentalism involved in the campaigns right now. And I think to some extent there are some senses of desperation. People put all their hopes and aspirations and everything into this election. And I don't really know why it should be so. I think that we just want to choose a leader for our country. Beyond that, I don't see why people will want to do anything under the sun. But for many of these supporters, they need to hear from their leaders that if you are caught doing anything that is likely to undermine the peace in this country, you will be dealt with as an individual. And if they hear it from their leaders, who they claim to be supporting, I have no doubt in my mind that they will be more measured and they'll be more, moderate in the way they relate to other people from other political parties.
Right. Now, the declaration, a portion of the declaration, and I'll crave your indulgence to read that. It says that we pledge to hold ourselves mutually accountable as peers, especially in promoting effective political leadership of the campaigns against electoral violence, impunity, and injustice. Diallo, let me ask you, do you not think that the fact that this happened in Manhyia under the watch of Otumfuo himself, who called for this declaration, it is an indictment on him in any way?
For me, I wouldn't say it's an indictment, because the signing of the declaration itself does not automatically translate to peace. Even in situations of armed conflict, peace agreements are supposed to be implemented. So the declaration that has been signed is a commitment that has been expressed by the political leadership. And this commitment has to be implemented. It even provides us an opportunity to see how the leadership of the political parties can cooperate with the security agencies in dealing with this matter. So when situations of conflict erupts, it does not mean the declaration itself has been nullified or is not effective or is not relevant. What it means is that there's, it reminds us of how the stakeholders should now walk the talk and implement the commitment that has been signed, and cooperate to make sure that any individual who commits an act of violence is being held responsible for his act. Nobody should be allowed to hide behind the color of a political party or an ethnic group to cause any havoc or violence in the context of the 2012 election. So this provides us an opportunity, even before we get to December 7, to deal with potential challenges that is ahead of us.
And you think 7 days to the election is enough time for all of these identified flashpoints to be addressed before the election day proper?
I think a lot of work has been done over the last couple of years. And looking at the commitment of all stakeholders that have been working to promote peaceful elections in Ghana, I think there's a possibility that these minor obstacles we are observing at the moment will be overcome. I don't think the time is too short for us to have a peaceful election. It just provides us the opportunity to address some of the emerging issues and also alert the security agencies about the potential challenges they will have to deal with in the run-up to the election.
Right. Kofi Adams, let me come to you. I mean, I know that the NDC has been gaining a lot of popularity in the Ashanti region from the last election, 2008. Do you think that the fact that the NDC is gaining grounds in Kumasi, in Ashanti region in general, is partly fueling these kinds of tensions in the region between them and the MPP?
Yeah, Steve, good evening to your viewers. And sure, your question is right. You are right in asking that question. If a particular political party have in the past assumed that one particular region is a no-go area and that they've always dominated and it's always been a safe place for them, and you have now another political party making claims and verifiable is so clear and evident that the NDC is gaining a lot of grounds and a lot of support in Ashanti region. Of course, it brings to fore some difficulties and challenges for that party, which has benefited tremendously from the support of the people of that region. So it can actually bring up such a conflict situation. But let me also add that per the police report, they have given indication that what happened is not being treated as a political violence, and that is a criminal act, and they want to follow same. So the invitation of the MP for Manhyia, Honorable Matthew Opoku Prempeh, is to help the criminal investigation. Because I don't think that in this country, you are allowed to campaign with guns. You're not supposed to be campaigning with guns. You're not supposed to be giving even warning shots or shooting at opponents during political campaigning. If that happens, it must be treated as a criminal act. It's not part of the campaign process. And this is the joy that I have, that we getting the security services that we want to distill political issues from criminal issues and stand firm to handle them as such. If they are able to do that, then people who will want to commit criminal acts and hide under political coloration and get their parties supporting them and making all kinds of noise will fear and watch out, because the police is not going to say that, oh, if we try doing it, they will say we are witch hunting, or we are doing this, or we are doing that, and we are anti this political party. They are ready and they are resolute, and we must support the police. The name calling, the use of social media to tag the police by a certain name and issues some kind of threat must not be allowed to deter them. They must know that they have the whole country behind them. The signing that the presidential candidates did, it's not for them alone. They were doing it for and on behalf of the people of this country. That is why we have two former presidents also joining them. That is why we have the National Peace Council. We have Otumfuo Osei himself, and we have many other persons, senior persons, and IGP himself, and the Chief Justice taking part in that process. So they must know that we have all committed to a peaceful, fair, and transparent elections. And we have processes. We cannot use guns to solve, even if it is a political problem. We are not supposed to use guns. We are supposed to report to the appropriate authorities for them to deal with that.
So, Dr. Pesa, do you share this view, and do you think that the police approach is the right one?
Well, I mean, there is no doubt about that. I have always argued that we need to build institutions in this country. And I think one of the remarkable things that have happened in more recent times is the level of professionalism that seems to be coming from the police. I mean, for several years, people have complained about the police. Now we have police officers who are lawyers, doctors, engineers. They are very capable in different, so many other fields. And when they speak, you can see that this guy really knows what he or she is talking about. And I think that is the kind of thing we need for our society. We need to support the police. There is no way the police can succeed without as Ghanaians, with the citizens. So for instance, if you are at a scene and an incident occurred, thankfully enough, we all have cell phones now. Just a picture shot, a snapshot of the event can help the police unravel the situation. And once we get into the habit of being able to capture evidence for the police, people will be more circumspect about some of these activities. The ability to hit and run will minimize, and the police will also be on top of the game. And I think it is good that the police are able to say, you know what, this is a criminal offense, this is not a political issue, we will treat it as such, and the individuals involved will be dealt with accordingly. I think that it is good for us, and we must move beyond this whole idea of trying to tag the police and call them names or attack them using all kinds of words. In between now and December 7th, the most important institutions that can hold our country together are the police service and the electoral commission. And we have no choice but to support them aggressively. Every one of us has only one vote. And I think that is what we need to keep in mind. And I always tell people that, look, even Dr. Afarijan, who had presided over our elections since 1992, also votes. And because we have changed parties over and over again, I want to assume that his preference might have been voted out at some point in time. Yeah. The fact that he is able to conduct elections or preside over elections without necessarily trying to be impartial tells us that there is something about the way that institution operates that we can copy as individuals and work with that going forward. If we can all move along that path, I believe that we can go into the elections, can print your ballot, walk home, wait around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, results are announced. If it comes your way, fine. If it doesn't come your way, better luck next time.
Right. Better luck next time if it doesn't come your way. And we have on the line Ohiming Teria, our Insura FM Ohiming Teria, who is joining us on the telephone for a discussion. Good evening, Ohiming, and thanks for your time.
Good evening.
So, great. So how is Manhyia this night following the clashes there?
Yes, Stephen, I can say that Manhyia is calm as ever, as possible. And after yesterday's incident, even when you visit the area today, you can't even detect that something went wrong yesterday. People are going about their normal duties. Not quite long ago, I left the area, but I can say that police officers are still patrolling the area to ensure that there is maximum security for residents of Manhyia, and especially Ashanti Newtown, where the incident actually occurred.
Right. Ohiming, for the benefit of those of our viewers who have not followed much this development, quickly wrap up for us what exactly happened and how we got to where we are now.
Right. According to information from the Ashanti Regional Police Command, just this morning, the Regional Police Commander, DCOP Augustine Jenin, addressed a press conference to give detailed information, which before today's press conference, information on the yesterday's shooting was very scanty. But this morning, the Regional Police Commander told a press conference that indeed yesterday, between the hours of 4 and 5 p.m., Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, MP for Manhyia, was on his usual door-to-door campaign, and he was in one of the suburbs, Mbrum to be precise. And at Mbrum, he went into a house of the victim, who I'm told is called Oli Mahfouz. And in the house of Mahfouz, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh and his team met Mahfouz's mother, identified as Zibrim. And Madame Zibrim, in the process, even requested that Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh dash her some money and then his T-shirt. But Dr. Opoku-Prempeh, according to the police commander, promised to send the T-shirts and money through one Abuchi. So in that house, there was verbal exchanges between Mahfouz, who has been shot, and this suspect, whom the police says he is on the run, and they are still looking for him.
So
they've not been able to arrest him.
Right, Ohiming, let me stop you and get some clarification. Ohiming, can you hear me, Ohiming?
These two gentlemen, Mahfouz and then the other gentleman, whom I'm also told is called Gausu. So the mother said if at all there's an issue between the two of them, they should go to the police station and settle the matter. But Gausu will not allow the woman, Madame Jamila Zibrim, to settle the issue. So they left in the process. Later in the day, when Madame Jamila Zibrim was on her way to Abrim with Mahfouz, when they got to Ashanti Newtown, at that time, Dr. Opoku-Prempeh and his entourage have gotten to Ashanti Newtown. This Gausu man opened fire on Matthews, and I'm told that there were 2 gunshot wounds on him.
Right.
And in the process, when he fell down and he was languishing in pain, other members of Dr. Opoku Prempeh's team also got to the scene and started using machete on Matthews. So in the process, Madame Zibrim also got wounded. And unfortunately, according to the police narration, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh and his team also left the scene. So Matthews was rushed to Komfanochi Teaching Hospital in a very critical condition. According to medical officers, they admitted him at the red zone of the Accident and Emergency Center, whilst his mom was also admitted at the Manhyia Hospital. It's not far from where the incident occurred. So whilst he was on admission at the red zone, later in the day today, he was rushed to the theater where he spent almost 5 hours, and surgery was also performed to correct damaged tendons and then damaged veins. And I'm told that he also had some of his joint bones also damaged. So in the process, doctors have to do plastic surgery on him to ensure that he survived the accident. But Stephen, I can confirm that based on the information that the doctors have given me, it indeed is clear that Matthews is in stable condition,
right,
and is now conscious and alert. That is how they put it.
Right.
Later in the day, Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh also went to the Regional Police Command to give his side of the story.
Right.
So even before the press conference by the Ashanti Regional Police Commander, Mr. Yenin stated clearly that they've done everything possible for Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh at that time to give his side of the story. But after waiting patiently in vain, they decided that possibly they had to tell the only one side of the story, and that is based on the eyewitness account,
right,
that Madame Jamila Zibrim.
Well, thank you very much, Ohim for that update on the situation in Manhyia. Gentlemen, this looks very serious. Then we're all standing back. Think. I'll take your reaction to all the narratives that have come. Kofi.
I think it's quite serious, and it needs to be condemned outrightly by all well-meaning Ghanaians, that we cannot allow this to go on. Because if the narration is anything to go by, here is a woman who had earlier received the team, politically tolerated them, and even requested for a t-shirt from you and a gift from you, which you've obliged to offer, only to attack same person subsequently and his son. I totally think that we must condemn this and must not allow this to repeat itself. Because listening to your reporter from Ashanti Region report and knowing what I read yesterday when the incident happened, it tells you that people sitting far away who didn't know what really went on were rather putting it the other way. And if that is where we must watch the use of social media as we prepare towards these elections. They can actually cause more trouble and even more mayhem, because yesterday it was reported as if the attack rather came from Matthews onto the team. Rather, it is the other way, per the mother's report. If, like, the mother had earlier taken the team on, maybe verbal exchanges that maybe resulted in insults or what have you, then I would have said that there was some provocation earlier. But there wasn't any such provocation from this woman. Why on earth would she be attacked? I think we should condemn this, and we expect the political party, especially from which Matthew Opoku Prempeh is a member, that is the New Patriotic Party, to strongly come out and condemn it. They must condemn it.
Diallo, what do you make of it? Should we be worried, and what measures do you think we should put in place for this particular case so that it doesn't escalate to December 7?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, and it reveals also another problem, that civilians are in possession of small arms and light weapons, which is to be discouraged, because they are not trained and they are not supposed to use weapons. So this reveals the need for the security agencies to be equipped with metal detectors as we go to the December 7 polls to make sure that hotspot areas are screened so that people do not carry weapons with them. And nobody is supposed to use a weapon against another person, and this reveals the need for also the citizens to be educated about how we can do effective community policing. Because if this has happened, I believe that if the citizenry are cooperating with the police, the investigation will lead to the arrest of those who perpetrated this act. And that is very important, because without community policing, the police alone cannot effectively succeed in dealing with issues of crime and criminality. And the other aspect I also want to talk about is supporting the police to arrest people who are committing acts of criminality. But the issue of mob justice is also something to be condemned. I think it is important for the citizens to support the police and make sure that information leads to the arrest of people who are committing this type of acts, and then they are put through a legal process that will then determine whether they are guilty or not of the act, and then the law will then take its course. So it's also important for people not to take the law into their own hand. Whatever happens, let them be vigilant, and let the people work with the security agencies, especially the police, and provide the information that will lead to the arrest of people who are committing mayhem and
right. You heard Diallo. I mean, whatever your position is, although you have to be vigilant, you don't need to take the law into your own hands. I must say that we're making efforts to get Samuel Boachi Ejako, who is a campaign manager for the NADO campaign team, to talk to us about the MPP's position. We have a video to show you. Stay with us.
Fellow Ghanaians, I want to be president of a united country that is at peace with itself. I can speak for the NPP and state without any equivocation that we will not do anything to endanger the peace of the nation in any way during these elections.
I wish, before all of you, my countrymen and women, to pledge my commitment to a violence-free election, and I call on all our citizens to join the Electoral Commission, government, and the security services to ensure peace before, during, and after the election.
Well, you saw there those the moments of the declaration, and we particularly sampled the MPP and the NDC declaration. So, Dr. Pesa, when we look at what all that we've heard, I mean, I remember earlier when Kofi Adams was talking, spoke about the dynamics of the NDC gaining grounds in a traditionally MPP stronghold. This is not the case for Volta region, which is also traditionally the stronghold of the NDC. So when you look at this development, would you say that if the NPP also gains sufficient grounds in electoral fortunes in Volta region, this could also happen there?
Well, first of all, I haven't seen any research that actually validates the gaining of grounds or otherwise by either of the parties in Ashanti region,
either of their strongholds.
Yeah, I think that what I could say is that if you look at the strategies being used by the various political parties, it appears to me that the NDC's presidential candidate, President John Mahama, is spending more time in the Ashanti region. He's been there quite a number of times, and the visuals we see on TV seems to suggest that he's pulling quite a number of crowd, and that might be the basis of the argument that the NDC is gaining grounds over there. On the contrary, it doesn't seem to me that the NPP is actually spending a lot of time in the Volta region. I think I recall Nana was there not too long once, as compared to President John Mahama, who really started his campaign very, very late, but has been in Ashanti region like 2 or 3 times already. So that's probably is the dynamics. But going back to the specific issue and the interview that your reporter just granted us, I think that in the context of the peace declaration in Kumasi, it is ironic that the very grounds on which the declaration took place also became the very ground where we witnessed the very first brutal violence. I want to believe, based on the report, that there is probably more to this story than just what happened that is being reported, and the police may have to go very, very deep into this matter. Have there been any prior relationship between the individual, the victim, and the people who perpetrated this particular act? But more so, given that the whole violence in this particular case revolve around an MP who happened to be in the NPP, I would have expected, and of course, within the context of the fact that no other political party is being mentioned in this particular thing, I will expect that less than 5 minutes after this event, the NPP would have come out very clearly and strongly to condemn it. And in this case, too, if it is established that indeed the individual who committed this act was in the team of the MP, then I don't see why the MP should not be asked to help produce that individual, because the story we are hearing, I mean, somebody shot and then others come in with machetes to kind of, chop him into pieces a lot more. That is inhuman, and we should not in any way play politics with this kind of acts.
Right, Dr. Kwesa, we're joined on the line now by Samuel Wachi Ejako, who is the MPP campaign manager. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us on PM Express.
Hello?
Good evening, and thanks for your time.
Good evening. Sorry for the quality of the line.
Yeah,
I can barely hear you.
Right, we will try to see if you can get us a bit clearer. So I'm saying that looking at what has just been reported of happening in, I beg your pardon, I think we lost Wachi Ejako. We'll try to re-establish contact with him again, and then we'll have the discussion. We want to get the MPP's reaction of the development in Manhyia constituency, and following the incidents that Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, the MP for Manhyia, was invited by the police and granted a self-recognizance bill, and statements were taken of him, and the police have indicated that this is being treated as a criminal matter more than a political matter. So, Dr. Kwesa, before we went on to the telephone, you were expressing a point.
Yes, I was basically saying that, given that there is, a high-profile political individual involved, I will expect that the political party to which this individual is associated, in this case, the MPP, would not remain silent on this issue at all, even if the party as an institution have nothing to do with this. And I believe the party as an institution actually has nothing to do with this. I don't believe that Nana Akufo-Addo sanctioned what happened in Kumasi, and I don't believe that the party met and deliberated and decided that they are going to do this. It has nothing to do with them. But in the context of the current political debate and the current political discourse and the environment in which we are operating, if they go silent, their silence could be misconstrued to mean that they find it very difficult to condemn.
We have visuals coming in from the incidents in Manhyia. You can see that's the victim. I'm not able to tell whether this is a male. So this is a victim of the brutal, you describe as very brutal incidents in Kumasi. So that's it. You can see him lying helpless in a hospital bed. So I mean, seriously, if the MPP wastes time in coming out to condemn this expressly, what do you think, could that have an effect on, their chances, really? I mean, in the elections?
There are many things that people look out for when they are deciding on what to vote for. In fact, if you look at some of the polls that have been conducted in this country, you'll be surprised that many Ghanaians think that peace and security is one of their #1 priority as far as choosing the leader is concerned. Yeah. And so if anybody contesting for political office knows that Ghanaians are very, very interested in peace and security, you don't want in any way, in any remote, direct or indirect way, to be associated with anything that is presumed to be violent-oriented. And I would have, wished that between yesterday and today, there would have been a strong condemnation from the political party that the MP who was in the vicinity or who happened to be associated with this issue long ago. Otherwise, your silence or their silence would be misconstrued, rightly or wrongly, to mean that they find it difficult to condemn issues of this nature. And we have history of some not too pleasant, comments made by members of the same party that has not been officially condemned. And I think that if you have series of these things lining up in the public domain, you don't do yourself a lot of good. The reason I say so is that in politics, the symbolisms matter. It is not just the words that utter that speaks for you, but it's also your demeanor, your posturing, and the things that you do that consistently tell a story about you.
Kofi, the NDC chairman, Yao Owusu Obimpe, I'm told, held a press conference to respond to this development, and in it he made, a few, curses, invoking the curses of Antoine Nyama. Do you not think that perhaps he was escalating this further by that posturing?
I would discuss the issue and maybe ignore the invitation of Antoine Nyama to arbitrate on this matter, because I don't know how effective it works. I believe that as chairman of the governing party and a party that is gaining a lot of grounds in Ashanti region, there should be a good reason for concern, and for which such a press conference was necessary for them to state the case that, look, they are ready and willing to cooperate with the security agencies and electoral commission to conduct these elections in the atmosphere of peace. But then they would also not just sit down and look on if members of their party are attacked unnecessarily. And on those grounds, I think that the press conference was welcome. Whether the people of Ashanti region seriously believe, because this is not the first time the deity Antoine has been invoked in such political matters where people will be accusing each other. This one say you did it, the other one say you didn't do it, and so on and so forth. So I would not want to go there. But then, like Dr. Bessa said, peace is very key. And that was why I was worried when recently the founder of NDC and former president went round and on NDC platform seek to talk more about peace and peaceful elections, and that members of the party, even when provoked, should measure their reaction such that it will not result in a violent electoral process. People were shouting at the rooftop, especially opponents of NDC, that he wasn't campaigning and that he had only gone on a peace mission. If indeed he went on a peace mission and he used the party vehicle and the party machinery to prosecute that agenda, it's supposed to inure to the advantage of that party, because we seem to represent peace, we seem to represent security, we seem to care about the people. Because if you butcher the people, which people are you going to govern over?
Exactly.
We have always wanted free, fair, transparent elections. And if you watch the African elections and you see what went on in 2008 and many other suggestions where some persons were arranging to evacuate dead bodies and deposit them in some regions, especially in volatile regions, to make it look like people were attacked and maimed, when that is not the case. If you have a political party that can sit down and strategize this way, then you must be worried if you find yourself in this.
Right, I'm told that we have Boache Jacko on the line again, and thanks again for coming back on the line. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, so I was asking, I mean, the developments in Manhyia and the fact that 2 people have received life-threatening wounds, I mean, due to altercations which are related to politics, really. What's your party's reaction to all of that?
Can I hear the end of your question?
Right. I'm asking what your party's reaction is to the incidents in Manhyia.
First of all, I think that any time that these things happen is unfortunate. But I am very quizzed by the timing of such an event. A day after stakeholders have attended their signatures to peace facts, if you will. The further point that quizzes me is this young man, anybody who knows Kumasi, to have moved from Zongo, armed himself, went and brought his brother all the way to Ashtown. What was his motive? It beats me. That suggests malice aforethought. That suggests that he was out to do somebody in. And it surprises me that the young man will arm himself, go from Monzongo to Ashtown, and then open fire.
So
it is unfortunate. But what is
so?
The party thinks it's unfortunate, but it it is such provocation that should be avoided. I mean,
so what? What's your point on that? Really, I can't get it.
What's my point?
On that, yes.
My point is simply that if somebody can get up, and now, what did Napo do? They went to their home to try and come back, left that area to another place. Why would a young man arm himself, pursue them to a distant place and open fire? What is the motive?
Why is he getting his briefs
wrong? What I'm suggesting is that people should understand that their actions and consequences.
Right. The information we have, is that the young man was shot at first, and then he, in response,
that is not the information we have. If you claim that information,
right. So have you shared this information with the police?
Well, I'm on my way to Kumasi now. But the idea was for Napo to lodge a formal complaint to the police, which I believe he has. But I'm on my way to Kumasi. But the bizarreness of this situation is that what was the point in moving from Mozongo to Ashton?
So
what was he going to prove?
Wow. Right. So what's your reaction to the press conference that was held by the NDC to condemn this act? Is your party not condemning it?
Condemning it in what sense? Condemning it in the sense that somebody shot at Napo and that there was a reflexive retaliation. I think that it is unfortunate that anything like this should be happening in our political space. I concede that this is, but it's not good for the image of our country. It's not good for the image of our politics. But we should always understand that there are provocations that may have consequences. And until the whole thing is properly investigated and settled, what is the condemnation?
Right.
Have we ascertained the full facts?
Right. So until your party is privy to the full facts, you won't come out with a statement yet to condemn anything. As far as you know, this was retaliatory, right?
First of all, that is what we have. That is what we know. And if it's a police matter, I would want the matter to be gone into, to ascertain the full fact. You have one side, I have one side. If the matter is fully gone into and the fact firmly ascertained, where condemnation is due, it will be late. But as I see it and understand it, if, for example, an armed robber pursues me and I turn over and get the upper hand on the armed robber, am I to be condemned?
Right, thank you very much, Samuel Boachi Ejako, for your comments.
No, the name is not Samuel. The name is Boachi Ejako.
Boachi Ejako. Thanks very much for your time here on PM Express to the best political team. Gentlemen, we have spent a lot of time on the first topic, so we quickly have to...
But it's important that a comment is made. I'm so grateful that you got Boachi Ejako, the campaign manager of the MPP 2012, to speak to this matter. That they are not prepared to condemn a violent act where they are very much aware that 2 persons have been admitted to hospital, one with gunshot wounds and machetes, the other a female with machetes. They are not prepared to condemn that act, and they are waiting for full facts before they condemn. And he tells us, did the young man shoot himself? Who did he shoot among the MPP group that he's talking about? I heard him mention Honorable Matthew Opoku Prempre. We yet to be told that he sustained any gun wounds or gunshot wounds. And that he was the one that was not even availing himself to the police. The police waited and waited and waited until they were forced to go out for a press conference. I think that Ghanaians, good-thinking Ghanaians, must condemn this act and must watch it even as they decide who they vote for.
Right, Kofi, we'll take a short break now and we'll come back and launch into the rest of the discussions for the night. Back to PM Express with the best political team. We'll move on to the other aspects of the discussion. Now, the NDP sued for the right to contest the 2012 elections. They also claimed an infringement on their right to be a political party and unexplained political breaches. This morning, that case was thrown out. So what becomes of the NDP as a party, and were they giving a raw deal? Also, George Abuaji, who is the GIPC former boss, resigned following the donation of 4,000 Ghana cedis to volunteers for Manhyia. What purpose did his resignation serve? Was it necessary at all? We'll lump these two discussions, and we're back into the studio. Dr. Kwesa, yesterday we talked about campaign funding. Now, here is a state agency which is alleged to have funded a political party activity. Now, there is an alleged letter to that effect. What purpose really does the resignation of the boss, George Abuaji, serve in this? Is it relevant at all?
Well, I'm not too sure if I know what purpose exactly it serves, but I think that in most healthy democracies, when issues of alleged corruption emerge around an individual, and of course the issue is supposed to be taken up by state institutions for the purposes of ensuring that there is no interference, the individuals involved tend to step aside and allow investigations to proceed. And so I want to believe that he probably was acting within the same context. But then also there was another story, I think yesterday, that was saying that his resignation had been planned long ago. So there was just too many stories coming up around this issue that it is difficult to really ascertain the veracity of almost all of them.
But do you think a credible independent body should be investigating this?
I think Yoko should go into this matter right away. Whether the check bounced, whether the money was cashed, I think that there are, all kinds of circumstances here. How come a state institution is involved in this matter? The Yoko going there does not necessarily mean that there is wrongdoing, but Yoko going there will be able to establish that indeed there was some wrongdoing, or after all there was no wrongdoing, and that maybe we were just, making noise around this issue. And I think we need to understand that the state institutions like Yoko, Shraj, and others exist for this. So instead of just going out there and trying some of these cases in the court of public opinion, yes, we have a right to speak. We should allow the institutions that have been mandated to do this kind of work to do their work. And then once they put the facts out there, we will be in a better position to see the way forward.
Diallo, let me come to you. You haven't spoken for a while. This is a situation where a political party, a group which is affiliated to a political party, is alleged to have received money from a state institution. Do you think this has anything to do with we should be concerned about the effect this will have on the political systems and the trustworthiness of state institutions' ability to devoid themselves of political activity?
Yeah, it's a serious issue when you look at it from the perspective that taxpayers' money should not be used to campaign, should not be used for partisan political activities. But looking at the situation now, because if the leader has taken the responsibility has accepted the responsibility and resigned, it provides an opportunity for the next boss, to thoroughly look at the gaps, the loopholes that have existed in the past and correct them. And it also provides the opportunity for investigations to be carried out to establish the facts and make sure that the right thing is done. And the most important thing here is that effort should be made to make sure that such an occurrence never repeats itself again, because it affects the credibility of the institutions of state and shows a bias, especially in the context of an election year. So it is important the matter is dealt with using the laid down legal procedures, and those who bear the ultimate responsibility are held to account for their actions.
And Dr. Pasa, before I go to Kofi to tell me whether he feels that this resignation set the precedent for the group to call for the head of their national coordinator, I want to ask you, this presidential pardon granted to Adamu Dramani Sakande, are there any political implications? Because I remember that in the day or so before former President Kufuor left office, he granted some pardons to selected key NDC figures.
Yeah, well, I think the presidents and, for that matter, presidents of previous years always have the prerogative. Constitutionally, they are allowed to do this. It so happened that some of the ones, especially in the case of Mr. Chachu Chikata, health grounds were also, called into question before the former president granted, and the same health ground has been called into question to grant this particular one. I have no problem with this exercise of presidential pardon. What I have problem with is that there are thousands of other people in these prisons who are also dying, more or less. In fact, they have more serious health problems, but they are not high-profile politicians or high-profile individuals.
So they are not granted pardon.
And nobody is talking about pardon for them. So we need to be able to apply these kind of prerogatives fairly, with equity and with social justice in mind.
Right, so that you suggest that it requires setting up of maybe a presidential pardon committee to look into several pardons in a year.
Well, there could be many mechanisms. If the president decides that, you know what, health grounds in the prisons are becoming a major issue, and I want to look at this on case-by-case basis, and so I'm putting in place a 2-man committee or 3-man committee to look into this. That is great. I had a student who worked on remand prisoners, not even, prisoners who have been tried and found guilty and put in remand prisoners who have been there for years. And some of them are really, really sick, and they are right in this country. They have not been found guilty yet, and they've been kept there, and it's like the society has forgotten about them. And so we really need, it's something that we really need to discuss as a society and make sure, because it could be you tomorrow, it could be somebody else the next day. And so on that basis alone, we need to deal with this issue.
So what, does it mean that the privileges of Adamu Dramani as an MP will be restored by this pardon?
No, I think that the pardon simply means that the president has allowed him to walk out of the walls of his home, not that the crimes or the issues that he was accused of.
So the court judgment against him still holds?
I think it still holds.
And so he cannot hold himself as a member of parliament.
No, not
and
at
he
all.
loses his entitlement if the end of the term finishes. Does he lose his entitlement as being an MP?
Well, as it is, it
so
appears
it's considered
that
as he was
he never
an
went
MP.
into parliament, because if he hadn't gone into, if it was not because we were closer to elections, somebody else was going to run in the area and become the MP for the place. So it's like he has never been an MP at all.
Wow.
In fact, in some cases,
it's like he was not even qualified.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Now, Kofi, let's come back to the volunteers for Manhyia, and then we'll wrap up on that. Do you think that the resignation of the former GIPC boss now set into motion the precedent for the group to demand that its national coordinator also steps aside? Would this have any effect?
These two issues are linked.
Yeah.
I think the group is just so careful that they are aware of the laws that exist, and that if their coordinator went out of the way to appeal for such an institution without informing the general body, he erred, and that they think that he should also give way for somebody else to run that group, so as not to disturb the campaigns that they are supposed to be prosecuting. And I believe that it's a fair comment, it's the right way to go, and the coordinator will do the campaign good himself by stepping aside as quickly as possible. He shouldn't even wait for members to call.
Diallo, you agree that? You agree perfectly with that. So, Dr. Pasa, I'll give you the chance to wrap up all the things we've been discussing. We've spoken about the violence in Kumasi, and then the fact that the group wants their national coordinator to step aside, and the case of the NDP and the presidential pardon for Adamu Dramani. Wrap it up for us.
Well, I think on the violence thing, the simple point is that no Ghanaian should allow him or herself to be used as an instrument of violence. I think that is just clear. Just cast your vote. You have only one. Don't allow anybody to deceive you into thinking that you can do any magic beyond your one single vote. On the question of the MP, I think it's very clear. I mean, the president has been magnanimous enough to exercise his prerogative, which all presidents have done, as I think another 4th Republican constitution so far. That is great. On the question of the NDP, I mean, I think even before the court case, the former First Lady has said that she's already given up her interest in the presidential race. I do identify with both Kofi and Diallo that indeed the coordinator of the John Mahama, Volunteers for John Mahama, has to, go quickly in order not to
taint the credibility of the campaign.
Exactly, and of course also of the group itself too. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. That was Dr. Michael White-Pesa, who is a research fellow at the Institute of African Studies, University of Ghana, Legon. We spoke to Kofi Adams, who is spokesperson for former President Rawlings. Alimu Diallo is a representative from WANEP, West African Network for Peace Building. My name is Stephen Anti. We spoke earlier to Boachi Ejako, who is the MPP campaign manager for 2012. Ohime Ntewia from Inshira FM brought us up to speed with developments in Manhyia. And thanks to you for watching, making time to watch. My name is Stephen Anti, and good night.